Hi everyone and welcome to AWS On Air and this episode of AWS What's Next, coming to you live from reInvent. My name is Gunnar Grosch and I am a senior developer advocate here at Amazon Web Services, and I'm joined here today by Martin Sirull. He's a senior specialist solutions architect for IoT. So welcome Martin.
Hey Gunnar, nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
So I'm a senior solutions architect specializing in IoT. I've been at AWS for almost 5 years now, specializing in IoT for about 4 years. And the 4 years I've been working on IoT here at AWS, we've seen all kinds of customers. And today, we're one of the things that we're going to be talking about is a fleet hub for AWS IoT device management to help solve a lot of the problems that we've seen customers struggle with.
So just to set the stage a bit, can you tell us a bit about AWS IoT?
Yeah, absolutely. So AWS IoT started right around 2015, and we launched it with AWS IoT Core alongside the message broker and some of the other core services that a lot of our customers had been asking a lot for. A lot of our customers, especially a lot of our more mature customers, maybe already had cloud platforms or at least IoT platforms that they were running themselves and really struggled with how do I scale this up? How do I kind of offload a lot of the undifferentiated heavy lifting that you hear us talk a lot about? And so one of the first services that we came out with was how can we offload a lot of the message broker capabilities and some of the other core features that customers really need to help them scale their IoT fleets to millions of devices.
So then earlier today we saw Dirk Didascalou. He's the VP of AWS IoT. He made several announcements in his leadership session. So one of those announcements was the one you mentioned, Fleet Hub for AWS IoT device management. So I'm excited to learn more about Fleet Hub. Can you just tell us what is Fleet Hub, Martin?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned, when we started AWS IoT, we started to build a number of capabilities into the system and continue to grow those capabilities as customers asked for them. So you heard Dirk talk about, as we needed to add device management capabilities with Philips, that we worked with them to build those capabilities in, and Nell with Greengrass and on iRobot with our initial IoT core service. And so we've built a number of APIs and a number of device management, specifically APIs into this around AWS IoT to help customers really scale their fleets and scale their device management capabilities. And one of the things that a number of customers continue to ask us about was, how can we make it even easier for them to get started and to provide a lot of that single pane of glass view that customers are that people really need in order to monitor and manage their systems at scale. And so Fleet Hub for AWS IoT device management is a layer on top of AWS IoT device management that really allows for enhancing and simplifying even further the management of devices. Again, giving single pane of glass to their systems and to their whole entire fleets. In addition, it gives it additional alarming capabilities, abilities to determine when devices maybe are not meeting metrics that they're supposed to, and really knowing when devices are out of date and helping facilitate the ability of pushing firmware updates to the devices.
Yeah, so you mentioned some of them there, but what are some of the challenges that customers have had with managing their IoT device fleets?
Yeah, so one of the things that we see a lot of is, especially with small teams as they grow, is that, customers, we have these capabilities which are great to help, customers get connected, devices get connected. But then the question becomes, how do I really scale it? How do I add people maybe outside of the developer organization to help give visibility? How do we give people a better view of, managing even hundreds or thousands, much less millions of devices, which can be a struggle, right? And so, customers would get started and start with our IoT thing registry and build in device management capabilities. But then we're looking for a kind of like an all-in capability of how do I just make this easy, even for non-technical users, or just maybe operators who didn't build the system. And so that's really one of the core things that we really were looking to solve for with Fleet Hub.
And how did customers solve these kind of problems before?
Yeah, I mean, so that was, it really ran the gamut, from the spectrum of one side to the other. So in one sense, if customers had teams that were maybe too small to support building their own kind of monitoring solution, they would, just use our standard APIs, which were great, for, interacting with devices, but maybe didn't give them, maybe really looking for more of the simplification that they needed from a higher level. If you didn't give them the unified view that they were looking for, right? And then from the other side, customers would already have a web-based solution, but we're looking for more of the IoT native integration, so that they didn't have to build those IoT native integrations with their own web dashboard. So really, it's how do I solve the problem from both? How do we solve the problem from both angles? And so it was everything from they didn't do it themselves to they built the whole thing and tried to do the integrations themselves with their own web app dashboards.
Right. So above and beyond then what AWS IoT device management offered, what opportunities were still there that have been solved now with Fleet Hub?
Yeah. So one of the a couple of the main core features is the ability to give that high level view of all of your devices from looking at all the different services we offer. So rather than looking at individual services, looking at, for example, looking at just the shadow service or just the thing registry, looking at just the job service, how do we give people a holistic view of their whole IoT, all their IoT capabilities, all from one easy to use web dashboard?
Can you just explain what the different services you mentioned are? The shadow services, the job services?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So the ones that we're focusing in on today are the first of all the of course the thing registry, which is where all of your things live, and where previously, if you're looking to check on devices, that's where they would be. You would be going to look in the thing registry. So that's the IoT core registry. And that's where all the metadata about your devices, the attributes of your devices, et cetera, all that lives there. Then one of the other services that's core is the shadow service. So that is one of our great services that allows you to really view the state of your devices from the cloud, asynchronously push state down, or requested state down to devices, see the reported state in an asynchronous way. And so that's going to be information like, powered on, powered off, all that kind of state, what firmware my devices are on, et cetera. And then finally, the final one that we'll be talking about is the job service, which is the ability to push commands, as well as being able to push, and commands could be something like firmware updates down to the device. And how do I monitor firmware status, firmware version of the devices, and be able to push firmware upgrades.
Right. So
through IoT jobs.
Looking at Fleet Hub then, are there any specific industries that you see will benefit more from using Fleet Hub?
Yeah, so the one of the things that we really were hoping, or that we're planning on being able to solve for with Fleet Hub is really being able to have Fleet Hub work for horizontally across all industries, right? So it's not just design. I mean, we have services that are specific for individual industries. So like SiteWise is great for industrial use cases, but Fleet Hub really is an industry agnostic view of all of your devices, and so really it's going to help not just all industries, but all customers, hopefully of all sizes.
Right. And you mentioned before that it can be from the hundreds to the thousands and so on.
Yep, exactly.
Devices as well.
Yeah, so, it can really, we and a lot of that is because customers of all sizes really end up, just because you have millions of devices doesn't mean you have a huge company that can build all these capabilities on your own. And just because you have a couple of devices doesn't mean you don't have so we really see all different kinds of customers who are going to be really be able to benefit from this service.
So tell us a bit more about the different capabilities that are included in Fleet Hub.
Yeah, so one of the primary ones is integration with fleet indexing and the IoT device management job service. Fleet indexing service, right? So that was one of the services I mentioned that as an integration point is, how do I more easily filter on devices? How do I more easily search devices and be able to drill down into devices that are maybe exhibiting certain connectivity issues, et cetera. So the fleet indexing service gives you that today, and Fleet Hub will give you a really great visibility into that, using its really powerful filtering and querying capabilities built on top of fleet indexing. And then on top of that, once you find a certain query or you filtered on certain devices, and you want to be able to maybe alarm on those in the future. So if there's something comes up where you want to know, hey, maybe this device shouldn't be out of date, these devices shouldn't be out of date, et cetera. Then we have a great alarming feature also baked into Fleet Hub, so that you can create persistent alarms, be notified when there's a device that doesn't meet the thresholds, and then also be able to go into the dashboard and see those right there.
And now you mentioned several features and capabilities that are in other AWS IoT services. So how does Fleet Hub integrate with these existing IoT services?
Yeah, so that's a really important point. I want to make sure to mention it too, is this is not a new, a new platform or a new way of storing your devices or anything like that. This is a service that's built on top of all of this existing AWS IoT services. So it integrates out of the box, like I said, with the AWS IoT core. It integrates out of the box with AWS IoT device management. So that includes job service and fleet indexing and the shadow service and the thing registry, and all these services. And so there's no work for, as far as from a migration perspective or anything like that, to get started with Fleet Hub. And it's actually just a few seconds to create an application, and there's no code. It's completely fully managed. It's just literally a couple button clicks in the console, and you're started with your existing fleet that's in AWS IoT. So it integrates directly out of the box with all those services that you're already using.
All right. So now I want to see it, Martin. So can you show me a demo of how Fleet Hub works?
I think I can do that. Let's see. Hopefully the demo guides will be good to me today, and I'll be able to give you a pretty great idea of all the great things we can do. So if you look, so you should be able to see my screen, and
Yes.
And what you'll see here is that I'm in the AWS IoT console. And this is, when you first click on, AWS IoT Core and the services drop down, this is what you'll see. If you've used AWS IoT before, this is what you're used to. But you'll now notice we have a couple of actually new sidebar options here because in our launches today. But the one that we're concerned with right now is Fleet Hub. And so you'll click on that, and you'll see that you'll have the ability to create actually one or more Fleet Hub applications right inside of AWS IoT. And so I already created one for the purpose of this demo today, but it's pretty straightforward. Just go ahead and create a couple, however many additional applications you want, just a couple button clicks there.
And you said that was quick to create the application and have that up and running?
Yeah, absolutely. It was just a couple screens. I had make sure that you have AWS SSO set up, because that's something that we use to do the username and password credentials, and then it takes you literally less than 60 seconds, and you should be all set. And so when I click this, what you'll see is this will actually open up a separate page, a completely separate web application, separate from the AWS IoT console. And so one thing that I want to point out here is that even though it didn't ask me to log in, it's because I was already logged in using AWS SSO. And so what's great about that is you don't have to have your users be AWS IAM users. They can be AWS SSO users, excuse me, which might even be external, identity. I believe that we have integration with AWS SSO at launch with with Active Directory. And so what we'll be able to do there is have users that are not, developers in the AWS console who already have IAM accounts, those will be able to access the same exact Fleet Hub dashboard, and you'll be able to create different applications depending on, different groups of users if you want to do it that way. So I'm logged in again using a different login than my IAM user, and you'll see that I have all of my devices here. And so what's great is these are all of my devices only though in North Virginia. So what I can do is I can actually see all of my devices from around the world. So even though it's a single application launched from Virginia, I can still very easily filter and switch to see different applications from different regions. So that was North Virginia, had a number of devices in there. And here are my devices in Ohio. Again, you can see all the devices right here in the fleet in the application. And so I have a nice little view with all of my. I have some various custom attributes that I've added to my Fleet Hub application, to this particular application, to fleet indexing to be aggregate, so that they show up right inside of here. And then I can also go into the summary view here, and I can see all of my total numbers of devices, number of connected devices, different device types I might have or groups. And if any devices are misbehaving and maybe disconnecting, I can see all of those right here. As a matter of fact, I believe I had a couple in North Virginia that you can see if they had disconnect reasons, they'd show those would show up right there. And so it's really easy to, again, dive in here. I can click on any one of these devices and it's going to show me, it's going to actually give me a shareable link I can share with other people, show me my connection status. In this case, they're connected. I can see all the different special device fields coming out of fleet indexing, connectivity fields, etc. And I can see the full device shadow, which is great. So right from this one dashboard, I can see the entire device shadow. Current firmware version, temperature of the device, current location, etc. So all of these are showing up right inside of Fleet Hub. Very easy to browse. So you don't have to have access to AWS IoT in order to see this. Again, separate access within Fleet Hub, and then of course the groups as well. So this
is like a great view, not only for engineers but for support personnel as well.
Exactly. And that was one of the big asks that we got was, what happens if someone's support, what if someone is a business user, they want to see number of devices or device types. Previously someone would have to have access to AWS IAM console access in order to be able to see this. And here they get a great view of their device, the full fleet. Right. So this is great and all, but it's much more interesting when things are going wrong, and we can figure out why they're going wrong, and use Fleet Hub to kind of troubleshoot that. So you might see here that we have our newly launched Cloud Shell on the tab open here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a command I like to call order 66 that kind of wreaks havoc on my fleet. And so if I run this, it will, sorry, we need to get rid of this bit right here. And that should run. Yeah, we are having some difficulties on that. So let me try and run this from the other. Sorry, that was our attempt at doing a Cloud Shell, our first Cloud Shell application.
It was a great attempt, I have to say.
It was a great attempt, yeah. We'll run this in a separate terminal command here to see if we can get this to run for us.
So the purpose with that job is to now create some faults with the fleet.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The idea here is that what we want to do is show that when there's an issue with the fleet, how do we troubleshoot that? And of course, like all things. Oh, there we go. That finally decided to go through on this. Okay, so great. So what I just did, I'm going to show you real quick, so it's not, so it doesn't have an idea of what just happened. Is I actually ran a job here inside of our job service. And so let me switch over to the right region here. Sorry about that. And so what you're going to see is this is going to run against all of my devices in a particular thing group that's going to help me figure out. It's going to show me which ones are having problems, which ones are, which parts of the rollout are having problems, and which ones aren't. And for some reason that didn't load the job. Let me just try and load this real quick. Okay, give me just 1 second. I see what happened here.
Right.
Sorry, give me just one.
Again.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I apologize. I ran it in the wrong region.
No worries.
Um,
But you're running
we were,
this in the terminal right now,
yeah, I'm running this in a separate terminal.
just an AWS CLI command.
Just an AWS, yeah, the same IoT CLI command that I just ran before. Um, so if this doesn't work, then we can move on to something else. But let me just try and get this working for you real quick.
Yeah, for sure. So
Okay, so anyways, oh, there we go. So it actually did work. Great. So you'll see here in Ohio, what's going to happen is this job is going to run, and it's going to show me the status of the job as it rolls out, which is great. So this is, again, all the same stuff that you've had behind the scenes in terms of monitoring success, failure. You can see a number of these ran successfully. And so when I go to my page, you remember if you recall, I had 50 devices, and they were all connected and doing great. Now what you'll see is I now only have 39 devices. So my job ran, and it, as expected, wreaked havoc on my fleet. And so now what you see is I have a number of disconnected devices for varying reasons. I have one that says disconnect reason connection lost, client initiated disconnect. And so now I'm probably thinking, oh, I need to figure out how to fix this. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to go up here to my filter, and I'm going to select disconnect reason is let's first start with, we can see all the disconnected devices. So we'll click connected is false. So there we go. So we have a lot of disconnected devices. Maybe we can add another filter now to say, well, what if disconnect reason is client initiated disconnect? That's a suspicious one. That's one where the client actually sent the disconnect signal on the MQTT disconnect to actually disconnect itself. Why would it want to do that? So if I'm looking at all of my devices that match that filter, I can say, oh, you know what? This is suspicious. All these devices had 1% battery state of charge. Why is that? Maybe they were all about to die, and so then they all disconnected. That makes sense now. So you can start to see that with this filtering, I can really drill down into why my fleet is misbehaving. And then additionally, I can, again, flip back over to connection lost, and I can see the rest of the devices, and then drill into here. And one of the things that we're planning for the future is, even though I don't have any specific details maybe on why these are having problems, I will be able to in the future be able to even drill into the log. So even though it's not baked into Fleet Hub now, I could then do a search for this device name in my telemetry logs, etc., and really drill into why they're having problems. For example, it looks like all the devices that were on 0.1 had some issues, and so maybe that was a bad firmware. So since talking about bad firmware, maybe what we want to do is figure out, okay, maybe we need to run some firmware updates. Let's see all the devices that had an old firmware version. So the latest version of firmware that's supposed to be on is 2.0. So you'll see that when I do a filter again, using my shadow field of shadow where reported is firmware version less than 2.0, you'll see that, okay, these are some of the connected devices and some that are still connected, fortunately. How can we make sure that we get these up to date quickly? So what I'm going to do is hopefully run another job, hopefully more successfully this time. And we're going to, okay, great. So let me just change the job ID here. Again, running the same AWS IoT job command that I did before, create job command that I did before that you saw in the Cloud Shell. And what that is going to do is roll out a firmware update to all of my devices. And hopefully my devices are super fast and should be able to roll out this pretty quickly. So let's check. So before we had 42 devices. Let's see how our device fleet is rolling out now. So you can already start to see devices are getting the latest firmware. Success. Yep. And like I said before, in the future, this will be something that is baked right into Fleet Hub.
So we just show have to use the terminal for it.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll be really simple that you can do. And I know we're running short on time, so let me just show one more quick thing, which is, what if I want to then alarm on the devices that are having issues, right? So, or the alarm on specific states that I want to make sure that if any device, for example, has an old firmware version, I should get an alarm for that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up here. I'm gonna create a filter again. I'm gonna create an alarm. You'll see that that alarm will be for that specific target query 2.0. I'm going to use my firmware version as my field. My aggregation type will be count, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to say anytime that the count of devices in this query is greater than 0, please send me an alarm. And so now I'll be able to create an alarm that says, whenever the device is out of date, I will get a notification. So let me just create that real quick. And there you go. So I can see my alarm now. I can see the metric history, how often devices have been out of date, who's notified for it. And I can even click right from here, the history of it, and even see the query that I created for that alarm right there in the dashboard.
And once again, this is not a new service for alarms or for metrics. This is integrated into other AWS services.
Great question. Absolutely. Yeah. So these are actually you can go in and see this right inside of your CloudWatch dashboard. So if you have integrations, what's great about that is if you have existing integrations with your own third-party integrations with, for example, CloudWatch, you'll be able to pull those alarms right into your own dashboard as well. And of course, be able to see them here. So this is, again, using all existing alarming features that's baked right into AWS. Alrighty, with existing services.
I love how excited you seem about this, Martin. So
yeah, this is a big ask. A lot of our customers have been asking. I mean, the customers that we've spoken to about this are really excited, and it's great to see. I actually can't remember the last time we had such universal. A lot of times features are more beneficial for some customers versus others, and really. The last time we had so much universal appeal on a feature, it's been really great to see that everyone is excited about this. Kind of to your question about who does this target, I mean, we think everyone's gonna be excited about this capability.
Cool. All right, so wrap things up then, Martin. What's next for Fleet Hub?
Yep. So you heard me mention a couple of them. So a couple of the big ones that we're really targeting, again, is the ability to have right inside of the console here, the dashboard here, the ability to execute those jobs right from here. So you saw me execute the create job function right inside of the dashboard, which would be, again, things like firmware upgrades, reboot commands, shutdown commands, any kind of command that you would want to send to your device. In my case, my order 66 command, any kind of device commands like that, you'll be able to do right inside of the dashboard. And then the other thing is being able to see logs for your devices also right inside of the Fleet Hub dashboard. So being able to, again, drill in if I had a connection lost, maybe see the last logs that were submitted so I can try and troubleshoot. So those are kind of the big ticket items that we're planning on for the future.
All right. So we've looked at Fleet Hub for AWS IoT device management, a new feature launched today in preview. So if people want to try this out, they're able to right now, correct?
Yep, absolutely. Yep, we just announced the preview today, and so I can show you I can give you the link to that. But that is going to be in the device management console. Again, just log right into AWS IoT, and you'll be able to see that right inside of the as an option for anyone to be able to log in and join the preview for. So you should see that right here in the link. Yep.
All right. So Martin, Sirull, thank you very much for joining us and talking about Fleet Hub.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
Thanks everyone for watching.